The anatomy of absence. Imagine booking a massage on a sun-drenched beach, but showing up for it entirely encased in a thick, black neoprene diving suit, goggles, and earplugs. It sounds absurd, but this is a near-perfect model of how we navigate our daily lives. We are physically present in the room, but the wetsuit insulates us from the direct experience of being alive through a continuous layer of mental noise. This insulation is what psychologists call mind wandering. It is that relentless background hum of planning tomorrow's meeting, worrying about an email you sent yesterday, or silently narrating your own life as it happens. The gear actively blocks raw sensory input. Our bodies are walking through the physical world, but our minds are trapped in a fabricated, simulated reality. Because of that barrier, we are entirely missing the experience of our own lives. To find out exactly how much time we spend in this simulated reality, researchers at Harvard University, led by Dr. Matthew Killingsworth, built an app to track where human attention goes throughout the day. They pinged thousands of people at random intervals, asking what they were doing and what they were thinking about. For nearly 47% of our waking hours, we are thinking about something else. Almost half our lifespan is lost to mind wandering. Then, when the researchers measured happiness, a paradox emerged. People were consistently less happy when their minds wandered. Even people doing household chores with a focused mind reported greater well-being than those whose minds were drifting. Our brains evolved this remarkable capacity to plan for the future and reflect on the past to keep us safe. Yet persistent mind wandering is actively making us miserable. To understand why we default to a state that makes us unhappy, we have to look at the exact neural circuits that activate when we mentally check out of the present moment. This fMRI scan shows the default mode network, highlighted in blue along the medial prefrontal cortex. This narrative self generates the stories we tell ourselves and projects our anxieties. Now look at the orange highlighted lateral prefrontal cortex and insula. This network is responsible for direct momentary sensory awareness, such as the physical sensation of your feet on the floor. Research by neuroscientist Norman Farb demonstrated that, in untrained minds, these two networks are inversely coupled. When the narrative network turns on to worry or plan, it actively suppresses the sensory network. When the story starts, sensory awareness shuts down. Look at the vertical bar charts here, specifically the drastic increase for the mindfulness-trained group. Through practice, these individuals physically decouple the circuits, developing the ability to intentionally activate sensory presence. If the default mode network causes unhappiness, we have to ask why our brains so eagerly default to this narrative mode in the first place. The journalist Oliver Burkeman calls this the efficiency trap. We frantically cram our schedules and optimize our time to maintain an illusion of omnipotent control over our highly finite lives. We begin to treat the present moment merely as an obstacle to get through in order to reach some idealized perfect future. By leaning so far forward into what comes next, we strip ourselves of an emotional connection to what is happening right now. The psychologist Dr. Lauren Cook explains that staying perpetually busy is actually a psychological defense mechanism. We fill our minds with worries and our schedules with tasks to shield ourselves from the raw vulnerability and unpredictability of the present moment. There is an old folk tale about a man so frightened by his own shadow that he tries to run away from it. He believes that if he can just leave it behind, he will finally be happy. He runs faster and faster, but the shadow never falls behind until he finally drops from exhaustion. If he had simply stepped into the shade and sat down to rest, the shadow would have vanished. Our constant busyness and endless internal storytelling are sophisticated escape tactics to avoid the sting of our own limitations. The Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman have proposed a framework called the two selves to explain how this neural divide dictates our modern behavior. Kahneman's text here outlines this dual awareness system. The experiencing self is the one living in the physical moment, registering sensations as they happen. The remembering self is the one that keeps score, assembles the narrative, and demands documentation of the event. Modern culture overwhelmingly biases us toward the remembering self. We prioritize capturing and recording an event over the physical, fleeting experience of actually being there. You see this perfectly illustrated in museums. Tourists stand in front of ancient, profound artifacts, looking at them entirely through the screens of their smartphones, desperately securing a photo for a future memory rather than looking at the object with their own eyes. By constantly feeding the remembering self, we systematically rob the experiencing self. We build a massive catalog of memories from a life we never actually felt. The behavioral solution to this imbalance requires deliberately prioritizing raw sensory input over internal commentary. This is the core practice taught by mindfulness pioneer Jon Kabat-Zinn. Kabat-Zinn challenges us to stop eating the sunset in our heads. This means we have to stop judging, narrating, and photographing moments as they unfold. We have to simply let a sunset be a sunset. Unmooring the brain's narrative mode from its sensory mode allows us to finally perceive reality on its own terms, free from the heavy, suffocating wetsuit of mental noise. The average human lifespan is roughly 4,000 weeks. That strict biological endpoint provides a profound urgency to making this neuroplastic shift today. The idealized, problem-free future we are constantly optimizing for does not exist. Stripping away the narrative to experience the raw present is the only way to truly participate in our finite lives. Thank you for watching. If something in this resonated with you, then you're already closer than you think. If you're ready to go deeper, there's a link below to my book, Your Life is Happening Without You. 30 Ways to Stop Overthinking, Come Back to the Present, and Actually Experience Your Life. This isn't theory, it's a framework you can actually use. Tap the link below and step into it.